their check-in luggage revealed bobtail lizards destined for Singapore and Kuala Lumpur.
Pieces of a human skull found at a TSA checkpoint inside the airport. You have a look.
Craziest finds by airport security. Stories of strange smuggling attempts at airports always bring surprise and sometimes humor, but they also highlight the ongoing battle between smugglers and transportation security officers. From hiding contraband in a wig to smuggling a human boy in a carry-on bag,
police found an 8-year-old boy zipped up in a bag as a 19-year-old woman tried to cross a border from Morocco to Utah.
These tales showcase the boundless creativity and the many risks taken by criminals in airports around the world.
Found when they searched 2 passengers arriving at JFK Airport. Investigators say the men arrived on the same flight from Santo Domingo with more than 20 pounds of cocaine.
Burrito containing methamphetamine. In 2021, airport officials at Houston's airport stumbled upon a surprising and unusual find in a passenger's breakfast. The passenger was carrying his supposed breakfast, a burrito, but it secretly held methamphetamine wrapped inside.
This is what they call a shard. That's just pure crystal methamphetamine.
This passenger thought he could cleverly hide the drugs within the layers of the burrito, hoping it would slip through security unnoticed. As the meal approached the screening area, airport agents noticed something odd. A suspicious lump in the burrito caught their eye, leading them to investigate further. They carefully examined the burrito and conducted additional screenings. That was when they uncovered the hidden stash of methamphetamine inside.
The woman is in trouble with the law because of this. It may look like just burritos, normal burritos to you, but nope, inside, meth.
After the discovery, airport authorities detained the individual and the drugs were confiscated. It's funny how smugglers frequently come up with crazy ways to hide drugs, thinking they can outsmart the system. However, this case showed that even the most ordinary items, like a breakfast burrito, can raise red flags. 200 tarantulas. Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport witnessed a horrific event in 2012 when hundreds of tarantulas tossed from someone's bag. This chilling encounter became an unforgettable reality. It all began when a German couple, returning from a trip to Peru and transferring planes in Amsterdam, had their luggage flagged during a routine X-ray scan. Security personnel noticed something strange in their bags. At first, it was unclear what they were looking at, but one thing was certain: spiders had no business being part of someone's travel essentials. When the bags were opened for inspection, the team was horrified to discover small containers brimming with over 200 live tarantulas.
Listen to this. Police say a man tried to smuggle hundreds of critters, including tarantulas.
But the surprises didn't stop there. Alongside the spiders were beetles, millipedes, and grasshoppers, all very much alive. It was a classic zoo of creepy crawlies, concealed within the couple's personal belongings. The Dutch finance ministry later confirmed the bizarre seizure, explaining that all the creatures were confiscated and handed over to authorities for further examination, because these insects and animals weren't just unsettling, they posed potential health risks. Officials had to investigate whether the animals carried any diseases, especially since they were likely captured directly from the wild. Carryon grenades. You can imagine the shock when airport security at Newark Liberty International Airport discovered not drugs or weapons, but 6 live military-grade smoke grenades concealed in a passenger's carry-on bag in 2019.
These smoke grenades were detected in a carry-on bag at an airport security checkpoint. While those items are not illegal,
this hazardous, prohibited item was uncovered only thanks to the eagle-eyed screening team, who noticed suspicious shapes amid the passenger's belongings. Once the bag was searched, the alarming artillery stash was revealed, packed in bubble wrap to evade detection. The individual was heading to the Dominican Republic at the time of the thwarted smuggling attempt.
A TSA officer discovered the grenades wrapped in bubble wrap. While they are not illegal, officials say the grenades are prohibited.
While domestic smoke grenade possession isn't illegal in the U.S., carrying them onto commercial flights certainly is. The potential for dangerous chaos if they are discharged mid-flight is self-evident. TSA officials were thankful they had intercepted the devices before departure. In the end, The would-be smuggler was permitted to surrender the grenades to a non-traveling companion and continue his journey unimpeded. Tiger in a suitcase. Tigers appear fearsome, yet undeniably impressive, but their little cubs undeniably exude an irresistible charm. However, irrespective of their undeniable cuteness, it goes without saying that attempting to transport them in your luggage is an absolute no-go. A truly staggering instance of animal trafficking came to light when authorities at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport uncovered a sedated tiger cub concealed within a woman's suitcase back in 2010. Concealed beneath a pile of stuffed toy tigers, the 3-month-old cub had been cunningly disguised, only to be found by the keen eye of airport security.
He says had the suitcase passed baggage check, the tiger's chances of surviving the trip would have been slim.
The woman, bound for Iran, was swiftly intercepted as the irregular shape and excessive weight of her luggage raised immediate red flags. When officials investigated and discovered the tiger cub, they were understandably stunned. Despite the woman claiming she was unaware of the illegal cargo, she was arrested for wildlife smuggling, a serious offense in Thailand, carrying hefty fines and potential prison time. The cub was transferred to wildlife authorities and thankfully survived after likely being drugged for the journey. Sadly, the illegal exotic pet trade drives a shadowy worldwide market, with tiger cubs commanding exorbitant prices. Smugglers go to extreme and inhumane lengths to clandestinely transport the animals, putting profits over their welfare. This astonishing case demonstrates the importance of airport security in intercepting not just weapons or drugs, but voiceless victims of wildlife exploitation as well. Cocaine wig. In one of the strangest smuggling cases you'll ever hear, a Colombian man was caught trying to sneak over a pound of cocaine into Spain, underneath a massive toupee. In 2019, the unusually haired man drew suspicion at Barcelona airport for his disproportionately bulky hairpiece. When investigated by security, they discovered a cunningly crafted cocaine stash totaling $34,000, all packed into the tall comb-over wig.
And when they cut away at it, they found something that shocked them even more: drugs.
The dumbfounded Spaniards had definitely witnessed some wild smuggling tactics in the past, from breast implants to pineapples, but a cocaine toupee took things to unprecedented heights. The black market booms for illicit substances like cocaine across borders, tempting smugglers to hatch elaborate trafficking schemes. But with airport security on high alert, even cartoonish efforts like this colossal wig are eventually foiled. In the cat-and-mouse game of airport contraband, the authorities once again came out on top. The drugs were seized, and the follically endowed felon faces heavy penalties for his harebrained venture. It seems hair-raising tactics just don't cut it against today's sleuth-like security teams. They brush away the fuzz and split hairs until they find the bald truth. iPhone strap-ons. In one of the most outrageous smuggling attempts ever witnessed, a man arriving from Hong Kong was caught with a staggering 94 iPhones literally taped to his body at an airport in China.
Customs officials found 94, not 900, that'd be crazy, iPhones strapped to his body.
The human iPhone armor was uncovered in 2014 when the bulky man drew officer suspicion. Beneath his puffy clothing, they discovered him strapped up from head to toe with tightly wrapped iPhones. He had meticulously stuck rows of phones onto his legs and torso using copious amounts of packing tape. At the time, demand for newly released iPhones was red hot in China, with taxes inflating the price. The smuggler sought to exploit the imbalance, buying phones cheaply in Hong Kong before trafficking them. But his lack of subtlety would prove to be his undoing. The excessive bulk gave him away, and then metal detectors sealed his fate, lighting up like a Christmas tree from the 94 hidden devices. While inventive, the over-the-top nature of his phone-filled getup made him a laughably easy target for security. In the high-stakes game of smuggling, sometimes less is more when trying to conceal your stash. Fishy skirt smuggler. In one of the most bizarre smuggling attempts imaginable, a woman was caught at a Melbourne airport in 2005 with an astonishing 51 live tropical fish hidden beneath her skirt. Security first suspected something fishy when they heard flipping noises coming from her waist. When confronted, the woman denied any wrongdoing, but eventually, the flap-happy evidence beneath her skirt came to light. A body search revealed she was wearing a purpose-built apron lined with special pockets, all filled with water and containing the live fish. Each fish was sealed in a tiny plastic bag to keep them alive during the Singapore to Melbourne flight. While inventive, her aquatic attire created quite the scene at airport security. The unexpected underwater ecosystem tucked into her skirt had the officers hook, line, and sinker. The audacious fish smuggling attempt landed the woman in hot water. Such biosecurity breaches carry heavy penalties in Australia. She likely intended to sell the rare tropical fish at a markup, but underestimated the vigilance of border security. This case shows how far some smugglers will go in their outrageous concealment methods. But with non-stop training and ever-advancing technology, even the craftiest plans eventually flop when airport security decides to net themselves a big catch. Peanut butter weed. You've heard of peanut butter and jelly, but peanut butter and marijuana? In a 2018 incident, airport security uncovered 3 vape cartridges packed with cannabis oil concealed inside a jar of peanut butter. The unlikely edible disguise was found in a passenger's checked luggage at Pittsburgh International Airport during routine screening procedures.
TSA says it found 3 vape canisters wrapped in plastic bags. The passenger told them the marijuana was for medical purposes, but they tried to hide it anyway.
While marijuana is legalized in some U.S. states, unauthorized interstate transport remains a federal offense. The concealment effort indicated the owner likely knew their THC vape stash was illegal contraband, although burying it in peanut butter showed questionable logic. Vape cartridges trigger alarms just like other dense objects, and their distinct shape buried in a food jar appears intensely suspicious under X-ray. Upon being questioned, the passenger claimed the cannabis was medical, failing to sway TSA officials. Ultimately, local police confiscated the narcotic peanut butter without incident. So remember, you can't slip anything past airport security just by sticking it in a snack jar. Whether smuggling weed, gold, or grenades, opaque disguises raise more alarms than provide cover. Peanut butter's not getting you off the hook. 48 live eels. In a slippery smuggling scheme, a group of passengers from Madrid Barajas Airport tried sneaking 48 live European eels on board a flight bound for China in 2019. The wriggling contraband was only detected when airport police noticed some leaky suitcases waiting to be loaded into the aircraft hold. Upon inspection, 48 eels were discovered sealed in plastic bags and contained in chilled luggage.
And then at the other end, you grow them on in a pond in China, and a year later, that's $1 million euros worth.
The travelers claimed innocence, asserting they were transporting Spanish delicacies as gifts at the behest of local merchants. However, authorities suspected the true motive was profiting from Asia's insatiable appetite for European eels. In China, European eels are considered a luxury cuisine, with prices reaching $40 per pound. By smuggling poached specimens directly from Spain, the group likely aimed to reap huge rewards. But their plot was foiled by vigilant airline staff, who called in police to seize all 48 eels. Sadly, some perished due to poor handling before being rescued, and the remainder were transferred to the Madrid Aquarium for rehabilitation. The failed smugglers faced potential eco-trafficking charges for exploiting protected wildlife. It seems when it comes to slithering contraband, airport security won't let even a single eel slip through their grasp. Cocaine wheelchair. In their never-ending quest to outsmart authorities, drug traffickers keep rolling out new tricks. For instance, in an unbelievable 2018 scheme, officials at New York's JFK International Airport intercepted an electric wheelchair being used to smuggle $500,000 worth of cocaine.
Good morning, ma'am. Passport? Oh, hey. How are you today? Fine. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm just looking for the bathroom. Okay, no problem.
Despite appearing completely innocuous, security scanning revealed suspicious undisclosed objects nested inside the wheelchair's battery compartment. Further investigation uncovered over 60 pounds of cocaine expertly packed into the mobility aid. The passenger, a U.S. citizen arriving on a flight from the Dominican Republic, claimed zero knowledge of the narcotic reserves his wheelchair was concealing, but investigators believed he was a willing participant in the elaborate trafficking ruse. Traffickers often use body packers, or mules, to push contraband through checkpoints, counting on them avoiding extensive screening. By hiding bricks of cocaine in his wheelchair, the smuggler likely hoped to bypass security inspections out of courtesy for his apparent disability. But eagle-eyed JFK staff weren't fooled, identifying anomalies that cracked the smuggling facade. Boy in a bag. In a distressing case of human smuggling, Spanish police discovered an 8-year-old boy from the Ivory Coast concealed inside a pink suitcase at an airport in 2015. As the woman dragging the suitcase acted nervously at customs, officials decided to thoroughly scan her bag.
An X-ray machine found an 8-year-old boy in a woman's suitcase,
uncovering the shocking stowaway hidden within. The cramped boy had been curled up inside, traveling from Morocco in an attempt to illegally enter Spain. Investigations found he was being smuggled by a trafficking ring to reunite with his father already residing in the country. With legal immigration channels extremely limited, his father made the misguided choice to pay smugglers $5,100 to somehow get his son across the border. Traffickers callously decided stuffing the boy in a suitcase was the most covert method. For days, the terrified child endured darkness and limited air, his life callously risked for profit. The boy thankfully emerged unharmed physically, but one can only imagine the psychological trauma inflicted on a child shut away in a bag and hauled onto a plane like luggage. As immigration rhetoric rages worldwide, this case reflects the primal desperation of families just seeking safety and unity. Some pursue dangerous, illegal paths when legal ones are blocked. While the father's motivations were pure, his means were reckless, playing into exploitative smugglers. More compassionate policies could prevent families from resorting to such extremes. Snake on a plane. In an incident that would make anyone shudder, a woman astonishingly tried to bring a live 4-foot boa constrictor onto a plane at Tampa International Airport in 2017.
As a woman's bag made its way through the X-ray machine at Tampa International Airport, they realized it had a 4-foot-long boa constrictor inside.
During the screening, her oversized emotional support pet was detected coiled up inside her carry-on bag. Once uncovered, airport staff reacted with alarm and outrage to the slithering stowaway. The woman insisted the reptile was an approved therapeutic companion needed for her flight's duration. However, despite exhibiting surprisingly good temperament, the snake's ophidian nature couldn't override protocols. Bringing snakes on board aircraft is prohibited. Only small pets and carriers are permitted in cabins during air travel. The boa's binding embrace may be comforting on the ground, but unleashing one mid-flight could potentially put passengers and crew in compromising positions. All jokes aside, serpents present serious safety issues for avionics if allowed to roam free. This bizarre incident showcases a particularly overzealous emotional support animal request. While dogs or cats may pass muster, snakes exceed reasonable accommodation. The woman was forced to rip up her slithery friend's boarding pass and make alternative arrangements for its transport. Both were left missing their flight and each other. So remember, emotional support snake requests tend to rattle airports and should be avoided to prevent a venomous response. Over $1 million in gold bars. In what can only be described as an unbelievable stroke of luck, airport ground staff at Kolkata Airport in India stumbled upon over $1.2 million worth of gold bars abandoned in an airplane bathroom in 2013.
Security officers in Kolkata have discovered 24 gold bars hidden in the toilet.
During routine post-flight cleaning, 24 hefty gold bars weighing 53 pounds were inexplicably discovered stashed inside the lavatory. Authorities could hardly believe their eyes at the shocking windfall find. The plane had just completed an international route from India to Thailand and back when the valuable bars came to light. Baffled by how such riches could be left behind, investigations were launched, but no rightful owner has surfaced. Some speculate a smuggler transporting the illicit hoard grew nervous during customs checks and ditched the heavy goods in a hurry once aboard. Others believe the courier simply forgot to retrieve them after a restroom trip. Either way, the mysterious case places airport security in a positive light, playing by the book rather than pocketing the unclaimed bullion. And it serves as a warning for smugglers that even foolproof hiding spots can fail. So if traveling with over $1 million in contraband gold, remember to take it with you when disembarking, not leave it sitting in the loo. A fishy find. In a discovery that was certainly out of the ordinary, airport security officials at Detroit Metropolitan Airport uncovered a dolphin skull stashed inside an unattended piece of luggage in 2020. After the bag sat unclaimed for some time, authorities began examining its peculiar contents. Initially believing it was full of everyday items, they were taken aback when scanners revealed an unexpected stowaway, a skull from the aquatic mammal. Once recovered, the skull clearly displayed defining dolphin characteristics. Being an unusual contraband discovery at an airport, security forces swiftly handed the specimen over to zoological experts for further examination. They sought to identify what species of dolphin the skull belonged to and how it came to rest hundreds of miles from the sea. The traveler who abandoned the bag remains unknown. Their motives for transporting such peculiar cargo are open to speculation. Some believe the skull may have been a black market acquisition, destined for private collectors of exotic animal remains. Its legal status remains ambiguous. Perhaps it was simply an opportunistic beachcomber happening upon the skull before attempting to fly home with their unorthodox souvenir. Either way, this fishy find emphasizes the need for airport security to expect the unexpected when scanning passenger bags. You truly never know what may surface. Gun in DVD player. In an ingenious but ill-advised smuggling attempt, airport security discovered a handgun expertly concealed inside a DVD player at New York's bustling JFK International Airport in 2014.
The Port Authority and the TSA report a disturbing increase in guns found at airport security checkpoint.
As the checked bag passed through the X-ray scanner, officials caught a glimpse of what appeared to be a firearm hidden within. Upon opening the bag, they found a 9mm handgun carefully wrapped in aluminum foil and stashed inside the DVD player. The passenger was heading to Mexico when he was caught red-handed in his creative trafficking endeavor. While regulations do permit transporting firearms in checked luggage given proper precautions, sneaking an undeclared gun onto a flight is an egregious violation. Had the passenger been flying domestically, he may have gotten away with it, but international smuggling is dealt with far more severely. Prosecutors speculated he likely intended to sell the gun illegally across the border. This shocking find highlights the unbelievable lengths some passengers will go to when trying to dupe airport security. It takes an eagle-eyed team and advanced imaging technology to have a shot at detecting such cunningly concealed contraband. Tortoises smuggled over borders. In a startling case of wildlife trafficking, Malaysian customs authorities at Kuala Lumpur International Airport intercepted an astonishing shipment containing 330 live tortoises in 2019.
To smuggle hundreds of the world's most endangered tortoises into the country from Madagascar.
The rare reptiles were discovered stuffed inside boxes that were initially declared as stones, arousing officer suspicion during a routine inspection. Once opened, the boxes revealed a trove of vulnerable creatures cruelly packed for clandestine transit. Investigations found the tortoises included both critically endangered radiated and plowshare tortoise species, likely poached from Madagascar and bound for exotic pet trade buyers. With populations dwindling, capturing these threatened tortoises is outlawed internationally, yet demand from collectors fuels rampant smuggling worldwide. In this case, the batch of 330 was valued over $280,000 on the illegal market, explaining the lengths traffickers went to in order to package them for delivery. Thankfully, authorities stepped in before the stressed tortoises were shipped overseas to unknown fates at greedy hands. Wildlife officials carefully rehomed the seized animals so their species could be conserved. Malaysia has pledged stronger enforcement and penalties to crack down on animal trafficking syndicates. This discovery was an important hand in the ongoing global fight against forces that value profits over life. Graveyard in a bag. In a macabre discovery that shocked U.S. airport staff, a package containing over 60 human heads was intercepted at Clinton National Airport in Arkansas in 2010. The grisly parcel arrived via Southwest Airlines and was listed as medical specimens, yet the labeling and transport conditions immediately raised alarms. When opened, officials were appalled to find dozens of severed heads wrapped in duct tape, but showing signs of decomposition. Forensic investigations found the heads were being transported from a research facility to a medical training center, both legitimate organizations. However, safety regulations had been blatantly ignored, allowing the disturbing airport scene to unfold. Experts slammed the gross mishandling, as medical samples must be clearly declared and kept refrigerated when in transit to prevent dangerous biohazards. Despite the senders insisting no laws were broken, Southwest banned the pair from flying specimens again until they met regulated standards. Meanwhile, the airport faced backlash for the perceived mishandling of human remains. In truth, without proper labeling, there was little they could have done differently in this bizarre event. However, it highlights the vital need for tighter controls in the anatomical industry to curb such ghastly shipping practices. Bobtail lizards. In an egregious case of Australian wildlife trafficking, border officials at Perth Airport intercepted 13 live bobtail lizards concealed inside a Japanese man's luggage in 2017. The rare reptiles are endemic only to specific areas of Western Australia and prized on exotic pet black markets. As the traveler prepared to depart for Japan, an X-ray of his bag revealed suspicious camouflaged cases. Upon inspection, officials uncovered 7 adult and 6 baby bobtails packed in cotton bags, likely to minimize damage during transit. Despite their cushioned transport, the lizards remained in poor health from stress and improper care while being smuggled internationally. Had the shipment not been seized, they may have perished before reaching their overseas destination. The trafficker faced hefty Australian penalties for illegally exporting protected native fauna. At the time, bobtails sold for up to $10,000 each abroad. Locally, captivity permits restrict possession to conservation efforts like breeding programs or wildlife parks. So for smugglers, the draw of huge profits ignores the creature's well-being. Thankfully, diligent enforcement efforts at airports like Perth are helping curb illicit trade to protect vulnerable species. Cat and the bag. In an unexpected stowaway situation, TSA officials at New York's JFK Airport uncovered a live cat that had crept into a passenger's luggage in 2022.
Inside a checked suitcase, they found an orange cat. You can see its red silhouette in the X-ray.
As the bag passed through the X-ray scanner, the outline of a feline immediately alarmed agents. After locating the owner, they opened the suitcase cautiously to allow the cat to exit safely. The passenger was just as shocked, having no idea how the crafty kitty ended up clandestinely packed in their baggage. But after speaking to someone who knew the cat at home, the light bulb moment struck. As it turns out, this furry friend had a habit of curling up in boxes and bags around the house when seeking comfort or privacy. The cat must have slyly climbed into the packed luggage, escaping notice. Once the humorous misunderstanding was cleared up, officials reunited the cat with its owner for a proper goodbye before their trip. The sneaky feline was no smuggled contraband, merely a stowaway seeking closeness amid the packing chaos at home. And it escaped the airport unscathed, thanks to TSA's watchful eyes. So next time, be sure to triple check for stealthy cats before zipping up your suitcase. Money in the meal. In a crazy 2022 smuggling attempt at Delhi International Airport, security forces apprehended a passenger trying to sneak cash out of the country, creatively concealed inside ordinary food items. As the man prepared to depart for Dubai, his odd behavior during screening raised suspicion. When searched, authorities were amazed as they cracked open peanuts, unraveled bread rolls, and dismantled meat chunks, only to find thousands of dollars in rupee notes stashed within. The 25-year-old had painstakingly stuffed crisp bills totaling close to $50,000 into the edibles, believing airport security would never inspect food so intimately. But his out-of-the-box smuggling tactic proved fruitless in the face of India's vigilant airport teams. The cash and perpetrator were handed over to customs for further investigation into this unprecedented trafficking technique. While admirably innovative, the trickery was not enough to pull the wool over officers' eyes. The sheer dedication taken to carefully insert notes within the meat and masking food appearances showed criminal intent by the traveler. Luckily, airport security was equally diligent in their screening duties, refusing to overlook even the most unlikely concealment spots. Packaged dead birds. In a bizarre and unsettling event, packages containing dead birds from China were uncovered in a passenger's luggage at Dulles International Airport.
Officials at Washington Dulles International Airport seize a package containing several dead birds inside a passenger's luggage
Near Washington, D.C. in the United States. During a routine baggage screening in 2020, customs officers flagged a suspicious-looking package and decided to investigate further. When they opened it, they were met with a grim sight. Inside were dozens of small deceased birds, each measuring just 0.5 to 3.5 inches in length. The passenger claimed the birds were simply cat food, but officials remained skeptical. With the birds originating from China, authorities feared they could potentially carry highly contagious strains of avian influenza, posing a serious health risk. The import of birds from China is strictly regulated in the U.S., so the illicit cargo was promptly confiscated and incinerated under the supervision of the Department of Agriculture. While the traveler likely intended to smuggle the birds for economic purposes, customs authorities could take no chances. Avian flu has had devastating impacts in the past. A 2014 epidemic led to the culling of over 50 million birds across the U.S., and with birds acting as a reservoir for influenza viruses, they must be carefully monitored when transported internationally. This unsettling discovery highlights the daily challenges of airport security, staying vigilant against even obscure biosecurity threats that passengers may unwittingly carry. Boa constrictor on a flight. We'll spare you the snakes on plane jokes. What you are about to watch isn't a joke. It happened for real. On December 2017, a woman at Tampa International Airport attempted to bring a 4-foot boa constrictor onto a plane by hiding it in her carry-on luggage.
As a woman's bag made its way through the X-ray machine at Tampa International Airport, they realized it had a 4-foot-long boa constrictor inside.
The snake was discovered by airport officials. When interrogated, the woman claimed that the boa was her emotional support animal, but the airline refused to allow the snake to travel in the cabin. Airport officials later shared the incident on social media, reminding passengers that reptiles like snakes are only permitted in checked luggage, not in carry-on bags. Only small pets in a cage are allowed in the cabin, and snakes are not in that category, irrespective of their size. The woman didn't like the sound of this news and couldn't travel without her emotional support animal, so they both missed the flight. Smuggling core. When you think of smuggling, you must think of drugs, but have you ever thought of a dead body being smuggled? No, you most likely haven't. This incident happened in 2012 at John Lennon Airport, formerly known as John Borda Airport in Liverpool. A mother and daughter were arrested for attempting to smuggle a deceased relative onto a flight bound for Berlin. The 91-year-old man had passed away before arriving at the airport, but the two women placed him in a wheelchair, covered his eyes with sunglasses, and tried to pass him off as alive. The airport staff became suspicious when the elderly man showed no signs of movement or awareness, especially during routine security checks. After further investigation, authorities confirmed that the man had died several hours earlier. The mother and daughter claimed they were unaware that he had passed away, believing he had fallen asleep. Their explanation didn't satisfy authorities, and they were taken into custody. Stuffed tiger cub. While stuffed animals are allowed to freely travel, someone thought through that advantage. In 2010, a 2-month-old tiger cub was found sedated and hidden among stuffed tiger toys in the luggage of a woman at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport. As airport security officers were scanning luggage as usual, one suitcase stood out. It was a heavy bag, and what they saw on the screen was shocking. A live, breathing tiger cub. This is so inhumane. A woman had sedated the baby tiger and hidden it among stuffed tiger toys in her suitcase, hoping to smuggle it out of the country. She was trying to take the cub to Iran, likely for illegal sale. The sedatives did their job and kept the tiger calm, but the unusual weight and the scan led to the officers uncovering the truth.
He says had the suitcase passed baggage check, the tiger's chances of surviving the trip would have been slim.
The tiger cub was rescued and taken to a wildlife conservation center. This was an example of how inhumane animal traffickers are and the extent they can go to smuggle innocent animals. Cocaine underpaints. It's not exactly what you'd call a fashion trend, but it does seem to be more common these days. At JFK Airport, 2 passengers were trying to act calm as they went through security, but something seemed off about the way they walked. Security officers noticed their awkward steps and decided to check them more carefully. When the officers searched them, they found cocaine taped under their pants.
More than 20 pounds of cocaine strapped to their bodies.
Each of them had tried to smuggle the drugs by strapping the packets to their legs and hoping no one would notice.
Officers found when they searched 2 passengers arriving at JFK Airport.
Why wouldn't anyone notice? Guess they didn't look at themselves in the mirror before leaving home. Their plan didn't work. The strange way they moved gave them away, and both passengers were arrested on the spot. It was a risky attempt that ended with handcuffs instead of a clean escape. Human skull fragments inside a clay pot. One of the weird things security officers at Florida's Fort Lauderdale International Airport found was human skull fragments inside a clay pot that had been recently purchased by passengers.
Pieces of a human skull found at a TSA checkpoint inside the airport. You have a look.
This discovery was made when the clay passed through the scanner. The passenger claimed he had recently acquired the pot as a souvenir and was completely unaware of the contents it held. This unexpected discovery raised numerous questions about the pot's origin and the circumstances surrounding its sale. Once the fragments were discovered, authorities acted swiftly. They confiscated the pot and the remains, ensuring that proper protocols were followed. As for the passenger, he most likely was shaken by the news and was unable to keep the pot he had intended to display in his home. Instead, he was left with a surreal story of a vacation souvenir that took a dark turn. Live pigeon socks. This might just be one of the weirdest things found by airport security. Did the passenger think the extra wings would help the plane fly faster? A passenger on a flight from Dubai was stopped at Melbourne Airport with a pigeon in each of his socks. This wasn't a joke or a mistake. The man had carefully wrapped each pigeon in a padded envelope to protect them during the flight. It seems like he thought he could sneak them in without anyone noticing, but airport security quickly found the birds when they searched him. Why would someone want to bring pigeons on a flight, let alone hide them in their socks? Maybe he thought the birds could make the plane fly faster, or maybe he simply didn't want to leave them behind. Whatever the reason, it was certainly a very unusual choice. Bringing live animals on a plane, especially in such a strange way, can be dangerous. The pigeons could have been harmed during the long flight. Fake baby bump. Can you spot a fake pregnancy if you see one? In Colombia, a Canadian woman was arrested after trying to smuggle almost 40,000 pounds of cocaine in a fake latex belly that made her look heavily pregnant. The 28-year-old woman was trying to board a flight from Bogota to Toronto when police noticed that she had responded aggressively when asked routine questions. The woman didn't like the questions asked, which made the official suspicious. Instinctively, a female officer then very delicately touched the lady's belly, realizing it was too hard and extremely cold for a pregnancy.
The Canadian citizen tried to fool public security forces by faking a pregnancy.
Immediately, she was apprehended, but the suspect claimed she was 7 months pregnant. Further search revealed her bump was made of latex instead of a baby. Once again, the airport security system has proven to be keen and observant. Smuggling immigrants. Everybody wants a better and easier life. Nobody wants to be stuck in a place or position forever. Knowing how far people can go just to get this would leave your jaw hanging from your chin. On the Spanish border with Morocco, in Melilla, 2 African migrants were found hidden inside mattresses. These mattresses were strapped to the top of a van. an unusual and risky attempt to cross into Europe. The authorities discovered them during a routine check. This highlights the desperate measures some migrants take to seek a better life, and going to great lengths, facing perilous conditions, to escape hardship and find safety or better opportunities in new countries.
Spain meets Morocco, and migrants desperate for asylum in the European Union are risking their lives for a better life.
Smuggling baby monkey and lemurs. A man was caught while traveling from Vietnam to Russia with a suitcase filled with 5 baby monkeys and lemurs. Can you guess where he carefully kept them? Well, I kept each in a tiny basket inside his luggage. How cruel can someone get? This incident reveals the dark side of the illegal animal trade, where young and vulnerable animals are often transported under harsh conditions, risking their health and survival. This discovery was made during a routine inspection, and an unusual sound came from the suitcase. Upon opening it, authorities found these babies cramped inside. The animals were rescued, and the man faced a prison penalty for illegal trafficking of animals and animal cruelty. Crocodile on the plane. Now this should be ruled as a case of insanity. Why? Well, because no one in their right senses would think of doing this. A passenger on a flight from Bangladesh to Bangkok was caught trying to smuggle 7 baby freshwater crocodiles in his airtight suitcases. The small crocodiles had been carefully hidden, and they might have gone unnoticed if authorities hadn't received a tip about the situation. Once alerted, security officers at the airport searched every passenger's luggage and found the baby crocs. The reptiles, though young, still posed a risk to other passengers, and their well-being in such a suitcase was also a concern. Smuggling wildlife in this way is not only dangerous, but also illegal, as it can harm the animals and spread diseases. Thanks to the tip, authorities were able to act quickly, ensuring the crocodiles were safely removed and the passenger was apprehended. Words have it that whoever gave the tip was mad at the passenger and double-crossed him. What do you think? Preserved seahorse. How else can we put this? Wildlife smuggling is wrong. An incident happened at Detroit Metropolitan Wayne County Airport, and security officers made a shocking discovery. A passenger was found carrying 5 dead, endangered seahorses inside a large liquor bottle. The strange part wasn't just the seahorses.
I do have to warn you, some of these pictures you're about to see may be a bit unsettling. This is what customs agents found in the passenger's baggage.
The bottle itself would have been confiscated regardless, because it contained more than the allowed 3 ounces of liquid for carry-on bags. But the presence of the seahorses was something no one expected. Airport security was already prepared to take the bottle due to the liquid restrictions, but when they looked inside, they saw the tiny, dried seahorses floating inside. Why do this? Seahorses are already considered endangered in many parts of the world, and transporting them without proper documentation is illegal. The passenger at Detroit might have thought the seahorses would go unnoticed or didn't realize the trouble he could get into for trying to carry such endangered animals. But airport rules are strict, and wildlife trafficking, even when it involves small animals like seahorses, is a serious crime. The passenger likely faced penalties for this attempt, and the seahorses were taken by authorities. Peanut butter gun. On December 2022, a strange incident occurred at JFK International Airport. Airport officers discovered a unique smuggling attempt involving an ordinary peanut butter. Or was it ordinary?
Or for trying to smuggle a disassembled gun inside 2 containers of, wait for it, peanut butter.
As security scanned a passenger's luggage, they noticed something unusual. Hidden among jars of peanut butter, it seemed unusual for a peanut butter content. Then they inspected further, and they noticed there were disassembled parts of a handgun. The clever but risky plan was to conceal dangerous items in an everyday food product. Peanut butter jars seemed harmless, but this unusual choice drew immediate attention from airport security. Once the officers uncovered the firearm components, they swiftly took action.
The TSA says the .22 caliber gun parts were wrapped in plastic and jammed in the middle of each jar,
removing the jars and detaining the passenger for questioning. Why would someone think they could transport a firearm in such a way? This shows the extent people would go to bypass security measures. After the discovery, the passenger faced serious legal consequences. The unusual combination of peanut butter and a firearm turned a simple suitcase into a scene of potential danger.
The magazine was also loaded with bullets. The man now faces a $15,000 fine.
It also left many wondering about the odd lengths some people will go to in their attempts to smuggle prohibited items. Gun inside chicken.
TSA posted a picture on Instagram of the weapon inside a raw chicken.
Transport Security Administration agents are trained to spot anything unusual, no matter how strange the disguise might be. At Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, they encountered yet another attempted smuggling situation, and this time it involved a big, fresh, raw chicken. This discovery was made when they were inspecting a passenger's luggage. They made a shocking discovery: a handgun stuffed inside a raw, whole chicken.
To checkpoints across the state this year, but this might be the first one stuffed in a chicken.
This was unusual. The idea of hiding a weapon in a poultry item was not only creative, but also highly risky. The raw chicken, which was meant for a meal, became an unlikely cover for a dangerous weapon.
Trying to conceal a gun from TSA in a really unsafe and unusual way.
When officers found the handgun, they quickly took it and ensured the safety of all travelers in the airport. Why would someone think to conceal a firearm in a chicken? Fentanyl candy. You can testify to the goodness of a delicious, mouth-watering candy, but someone tried to outsmart airport security by hiding drugs in candy packaging.
Check at LAX airport in Los Angeles led to a disturbing discovery: 12,000 suspected fentanyl pills.
This took place in 2020 at Los Angeles International Airport. Law enforcement officers confiscated about 12,000 fentanyl pills from a suspect while checking through luggage. The pills were cleverly hidden inside candy boxes and bags, making them appear harmless as they passed through security.
That's when authorities say someone tried to go through the airport security screening with the pills disguised as bags of candy and snacks.
Fentanyl is a powerful and dangerous substance that has been linked to many overdose deaths. Officers were on high alert, and when they noticed the unusual packaging, they quickly investigated further. After the pills were found, the airport officials took swift action to ensure the safety of travelers at the airport. The suspect was detained, and an investigation was launched to understand the broader implications of this drug trafficking attempt. Live ammunition. At Liberty International Airport, security personnel found live ammunition in a passenger's suitcase.
The rifle, along with a high-powered magazine and ammunition, was hidden behind the lining of a suitcase.
The suitcase had gone through the screening process, and the X-ray machines revealed unusual shapes that prompted further investigation. When officers opened the bag, they found several rounds of smoke grenades wrapped in bubble wrap hidden among his personal belongings. This raised serious concerns about safety and security at the airport. Authorities quickly took action, removing the suitcase and questioning the passenger. The incident is an eye-opener on the importance of strict airport security measures designed to prevent dangerous items from being transported on flights. Smuggling ammunition is illegal and poses significant risks to public safety. Baby shark.
Dead shark at home, that is if you don't want to make the TSA's list of the top 10 catches of the year.
At Syracuse Hancock International Airport in New York, a TSA agent pulls out a sealed bottle containing a baby shark. A passenger had attempted to carry a preserved baby shark in a jar onto their flight. This unusual discovery shocked the passengers. TSA agents confiscated the item immediately. While it's not every day you encounter a marine creature among carry-on items, it's important to note that such objects often violate TSA's strict policies regarding transporting biological specimens.
Surprisingly enough, the shark wasn't even the problem. It was that liquid that caused the item to be taken.
These regulations exist not just for safety, but to prevent the illegal transport of endangered species or unauthorized items. While the passenger may have thought their unique keepsake would sail through security unnoticed, this wasn't the case. Preserved animals in liquid-filled containers typically fall under the category of restricted items due to the potential hazards posed by liquids on flights. Knife in laptop. Security officers at Richmond International Airport in Virginia made a startling discovery: a double-bladed knife cleverly hidden inside the casing of a laptop. The weapon, concealed so artfully, demonstrated an alarming level of ingenuity that required sharp-eyed officers to detect.
They obtained some tools to unscrew the laptop and get into the guts of the laptop.
Robin Burke, the TSA Federal Security Director, emphasized the significance of this find, stating, "Detecting cleverly concealed weapons highlights the dedication, training, and expertise of our officers. Their mission is clear: to ensure that prohibited items capable of causing harm never make it onto a flight." Instances like this underline the importance of airport security protocols.
The airport sits at number 5 on TSA's annual ranking of the top 10 most unusual airport security findings.
Every day, TSA officers are tasked with identifying threats in an ever-evolving landscape of concealment tactics. From knives hidden in laptops to other bizarre attempts like weapons disguised as everyday objects, their vigilance helps ensure the safety of millions of passengers. Smelly and unusual food. Over the years, airport staff have encountered everything from strange snacks to entire meals packed into carry-ons, resulting in some unforgettable and hilarious moments. One particularly bizarre incident that grabbed headlines involved a traveler attempting to carry a whole roasted pig in their carry-on bag. It was a full-sized, glistening roasted pig, complete with crispy skin.
Sniffed out a roasted pig's head at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport.
Imagine the confusion on the faces of security agents as they tried to figure out how to process such an unconventional item. While technically not against airline regulations, the sight of a roasted pig squeezing through the X-ray scanner caused quite a commotion, with some travelers stopping to snap photos while others exchanged amused glances. Another incident was the infamous durian incidents. Durians, often called the king of fruits, are native to Southeast Asia and are famous, or infamous, for their overpowering smell, which some describe as a mix of rotten onions and gym socks. In one memorable case, a passenger traveling with durians caused such a stink, literally, that security had to temporarily clear the area after multiple complaints from other passengers. The powerful odor was so strong it triggered gag reflexes and left staff scrambling to contain the situation. The cat in the bag. TSA officers at New York's JFK Airport were left feline perplexed in 2022 when they spotted an unexpected passenger during a routine luggage X-ray. A live cat nestled among the clothing and toiletries. The orange tabby cat, named Smells, had somehow managed to sneak into a checked suitcase belonging to a traveler who was heading to Florida. The furry stowaway went unnoticed until the bag passed through the airport's security scanners. Puzzled TSA agents carefully opened the luggage, and to their surprise, the cat leaped out, unharmed but understandably confused. The owner of the suitcase was equally shocked, insisting that he had no idea how Smells had ended up in his bag. Further investigation revealed that the adventurous feline belonged to another tenant in the same apartment building as the traveler. Smells had a reputation for being curious and mischievous, often sneaking into open suitcases and boxes in search of cozy napping spots. The incident caused a brief security scare, but was quickly resolved once the cat's identity and owner were confirmed. Smells was safely returned home, and the traveler was allowed to continue his journey, albeit without his unexpected carry-on. A stunning discovery. Airport security is always on the lookout for potentially dangerous items, but sometimes the discoveries they make are both alarming and amusing. In 2021, TSA officers at Bradley International Airport in Connecticut were shocked to find a pink lipstick stun gun and 3 rounds of .38 caliber ammunition in a passenger's carry-on bag. The lipstick stun gun, a compact device designed to resemble a harmless cosmetic product, packs a powerful punch. When activated, it can deliver a debilitating electric shock, making it a prohibited item in carry-on luggage. To further complicate matters, the passenger's bag also contained live ammunition, which is strictly forbidden in both carry-on and checked baggage without proper documentation and packaging. The combination of the 2 items raised serious concerns about the traveler's intentions. TSA officers quickly notified local law enforcement, who questioned the passengers about the unusual and potentially dangerous items in their luggage. The traveler claimed that the lipstick stun gun was for personal protection, but failed to provide a satisfactory explanation for the ammunition. While some travelers may argue that items like stun guns are necessary for self-defense, the potential for misuse and the risk they pose to other passengers and crew members far outweigh any perceived benefits. It's crucial for travelers to familiarize themselves with the rules and regulations regarding prohibited items before packing their bags to avoid potentially serious consequences. Songbird smuggling scandal. In a bizarre case of feathered felony, a man was caught attempting to smuggle 35 live songbirds through a New York City airport in 2021.
This guy was arrested for smuggling 35 finches to New York.
The birds, concealed inside hair curlers strategically attached to the man's clothing, were discovered during a routine security screening. The 39-year-old man, who had just arrived on a flight from Guyana, was found to have the tiny birds hidden in small plastic hair rollers, which were carefully attached to the inside of his jacket and pants. The curlers had been modified with small holes to allow the birds to breathe during the smuggling attempt. Further investigation revealed that the man had been promised $5,000 to deliver the birds to a contact in the United States. The songbirds, which include species like finches and canaries, are highly prized in the underground bird-singing competition circuit, where they can fetch thousands of dollars each. The illegal trade in exotic birds is a lucrative and cruel business, with smugglers going to great lengths to transport these delicate creatures across borders. Many birds do not survive the journey, succumbing to stress, dehydration, or suffocation in the cramped and unnatural conditions of their makeshift cages. The man was arrested and charged with unlawful wildlife smuggling, facing up to 5 years in prison and a hefty fine. The birds, meanwhile, were carefully removed from their hair roller prisons and placed in the care of a local animal welfare organization, the Lobster Luggage Lark. When it comes to packing for a trip, everyone has their essentials: clothes, toiletries, and live lobsters. At least that was the case for one traveler at Boston Logan Airport in 2017, who decided to bring along a crustacean companion in their checked luggage. Upon inspection, TSA officers discovered the 20-pound lobster nestled among the suitcases, likely dreaming of buttery dinners to come. Surprisingly, this aquatic carry-on wasn't against the rules. The TSA actually allows live lobsters in both checked and carry-on bags, provided they're properly packaged. In this case, the clawed commuter was carefully contained in a clear plastic bag, complete with a moist towel to keep it comfortable during the journey. Transporting live lobsters is a fairly common practice in New England, where the tasty crustaceans are a regional delicacy. Hiddencuscus. When airport customs opened a bag on October 23rd, they never imagined they would find 5 furry creatures hidden inside. The customs officers were inspecting a passenger's bag when they made a shocking discovery: 5 strange, furry creatures hidden inside. But these weren't just any animals. To their surprise, they were rare dwarf and common spotted cuscus, creatures that most people wouldn't expect to find in someone's luggage. The passenger had arrived from Bangkok, and the discovery left everyone at the airport stunned. As the authorities began their investigation, the animals were sent back to Thailand. But the mystery was far from over. What was this passenger intending to do with these rare creatures? Smuggling these creatures is illegal and supports the illicit wildlife trade, further threatening species that are already at risk of extinction. Meanwhile, the airport officials were buzzing with curiosity, each person speculating about the passenger's intentions. The big question remained: why would anyone need these unusual creatures? Golden slippers. Imagine stepping off a flight from Colombo, thinking you're just another passenger blending in with the crowd. Suddenly, airport officers begin to focus on one woman. What did they know that we didn't? With sharp attention to detail, the officers begin to search her belongings, and the tension builds. They start by inspecting her slippers, but it's what's hidden beneath them that grabs their focus. As they peel back the soles, they uncover 14 gold-cut bits, carefully concealed.
On body check and scanning of his bag and slippers, the presence of gold in cut pieces form was revealed concealed in his slippers.
Each piece gleams as it's revealed, making it clear that this stash weighs a staggering 393 grams. Now, this isn't just ordinary gold. It's valued at an eye-popping 18,84,000 rupees, which is roughly $2,683. The officers seized it, making yet another successful bust under the Customs Act of 1962. Meanwhile, this type of smuggling doesn't just break the law, it also poses a serious security risk, as it can easily go unnoticed by both passengers and customs officers. However, this was just the beginning of a series of crafty smuggling attempts, with each one becoming more inventive than the last. Diamond smuggler busted. A routine scan turned into a serious investigation when officers noticed something odd under a passenger's clothing. The passengers had just gone through the scanner when the officers noticed something very unusual.
Takes a closer look at the mysterious shadows on the passenger body scanner.
One of the passengers, who's from Africa, seems to have something unusual hidden inside her. The shadows showing up on the X-ray screen give the officers a hint, and one of them quickly suspects she might be smuggling diamonds. They've seen cases like this before, so the suspicion is real. As she walks through the X-ray scanner, the officer notices something odd showing up on the screen. They call her over for questioning, and when they start talking, the officer says it looks like lovely stones, but he knows it's something much more serious: diamonds. Turns out, he was right. The woman cooperates and agrees to go to the women's bathroom to remove whatever she's hiding. What she hands over are 5 mysterious packs. The officer opens them up, and inside, he finds rough, unrefined diamonds. She was trying to smuggle them into the country without any proper documents. Suspicious couple caught. Love may be blind, but was it strong enough to fool the customs officers? When this couple passed through security, the officers started to get suspicious, as their story didn't quite add up. The officers asked if they packed everything themselves and if they had anything new to declare, like purchases from their trip. The husband quickly confirmed they were only bringing back clothes, and everything seemed fine at first. But as the officers began checking the bags, something didn't sit right. When they opened the luggage, they found not just clothes, but brand new gold jewelry, tags still attached. The wife claimed the jewelry was hers, but it was clear that they hadn't declared it properly. They tried to slip it past the officers without paying the proper taxes. Each piece of jewelry was worth around $2,000, and in the end, the couple's little fib cost them. The jewelry was seized, and now they'll be hit with some hefty penalty fees. Guess love wasn't enough to cover up those expensive mistakes. However, gold paste inside underwear. When a traveler's belongings get flagged, nobody could have predicted what was hidden inside. On August 5, 2023, Hyderabad Customs received an anonymous tip, and it turned out to be a big lead. They had their sights set on an Indian traveler returning from Dubai, and suspicion was growing as officers got closer. What happened next left everyone stunned. The traveler was found with nearly 1,924 grams of gold paste.
Gold paste hidden inside his underwear. Nearly 1,924 grams of it
hidden inside his underwear, worth a jaw-dropping 1 crore 18 lakh rupees. It was a desperate attempt to hide the gold, and it added an extra layer of intrigue to the bust. Hyderabad Customs had successfully cracked another smuggling attempt, but now even more questions were left unanswered. Psychedelic liquid in cola bottles. Customs officers got a little more than they bargained for when they uncovered some suspicious bottles in a passenger's possession. At first glance, it looked like the man just had a few regular bottles of cola, but upon closer inspection, something didn't seem right. 3 bottles were found, all filled with the same dark, mysterious liquid. As the officers dug deeper, their concerns grew. It turned out that the liquid inside wasn't just soda. It was a plant-based psychedelic known for containing DMT, a powerful hallucinogen. To make things even worse, it had been mixed with MDMA, a dangerous drug commonly known as ecstasy. The hazards of this substance is immediate and dangerous. DMT is a potent hallucinogen that can cause severe psychological effects, including extreme anxiety, paranoia, and hallucinations. In addition, substances like these can lead to impaired judgment and behavior, posing serious risks to the safety of both the individual carrying them and others around them. After running tests, authorities confirmed the liquid was indeed illegal, confirming their worst fears. Drugs and big millions in fake cash. It started with a bus search, but what they found was a staggering discovery of heroin and millions in cash. It all went down on the Abuja Expressway when drug law enforcement agents stumbled upon an unbelievable stash, nearly $2 million in cash, 175 wraps of drugs, and 57 million CFA in suspected counterfeit bills. And that was only the beginning. A few days later, things took another turn at the Abuja airport when 2 traffickers were caught trying to smuggle heroin inside their bodies. The busts led to some pretty major arrests, including a notorious drug lord, Hakeem Babatunde Salami, who was eventually tracked down hiding out in South Africa. They even seized his luxury car and sealed his home. The crime itself posed severe risks, both immediate and long-term. Heroin trafficking fuels the opioid epidemic, leading to addiction, overdose deaths, and a range of social and health crises. The illegal drug trade also contributes to widespread violence and corruption, destabilizing entire communities and countries. On top of that, the counterfeit currency tied to this cartel could have undermined local economies by introducing fake money into circulation, potentially causing inflation and financial instability. The crazy part is that both of these busts, one on the expressway and the other at the airport, were linked to the same drug cartel. In the end, the drug lord was convicted, getting 2 years in prison with the option of a fine on some charges, but 8 months with no chance of a fine for others. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.